Hey everyone, we are back with a new episode coming to you live from Miami, Florida. I'm super excited and happy to be here. And as always, super excited and happy to be with all of you. So, the theme for today is kind of off topic, but something that has been sort of present for me recently, and I've been sort of coming up against in my community and in my clients. So I thought it would be a dope thing to talk about because I think this sort of challenges what a lot of people believe around the support they get from their family and friends and the people around them. I think that we have this idea and we hear it all the time that if somebody doesn't support you, if somebody in your life doesn't support you, if they don't watch your videos or like your stuff or listen to your music or buy your brand, that it is in some way representative or indicative of the relationship. And therefore they're not, a good person to have in your life, or the relationship isn't healthy or whatever it is, all this kind of loaded weight we put on the relationships in our lives. And, there's like the age old saying, a stranger will support you more than someone you care about or someone in your family or whomever. You sort of have these expectations around how someone ought to support you. And I've sat with this a lot. I've thought about this a lot because, of course, I myself have come up against this many times, over the years, whether it's stuff that I put out or things that I'm doing, or even in my work or whatever, what have you, that I felt maybe sort of under supported by my friends or family or whomever it was. And, over time, even for me, I would find myself sort of with some resentment building up because, I wasn't feeling supported in the ways that my mind told me I ought to be supported by this person in my life, be it a close friend or a family member or someone in my immediate family or what have you. And I had to really sit with that. I had to really honestly start to challenge my own belief around that. And this is going to be somewhat contrary to everything I've just said in terms of this person ought to support you in this way, and this sort of common narrative of strangers will support you more than family or what have you. And it's true. It's 100% true. And I believe that there's so many layers to this that when you look at it a little bit more objectively, because of course, when you're in it and you're feeling it, you just want to be mad about it. And then, it creates this rift in the relationship because someone's not supporting you or watching your videos or whatever it is in a way that you would expect them to. If you really sit with it, though, if you can actually pull yourself out of it just a little bit and out of the emotionality around feeling undersupported or undervalued or whatever it brings up for you, right? Because that's always the work to do. Whatever you're feeling is yours to sit with. And that doesn't mean that maybe there's not something within the bond or in the relationship that is not supporting or serving you in the way that you need to be supported or served. However, whatever it's bringing up is yours to look at. So I started to do that. Within the past few years. I really started to look at, well, what is this? Okay, so it's my whoever it is, bestie, will say, which is not actually, most of my best friends very much support me. So God bless them. But we're going to use that as an example because I don't want to call anyone in my life out. But say one of my best friends doesn't watch my stuff, doesn't support me, that hardly knows what I have going on. When I mention my channel, it's pretty obvious that they don't know anything about it, aren't even subscribed, all of these very minimal things where I'm like, you could at least subscribe, right? Like in my mind, I would think you could at least subscribe. You could at least follow me on my platforms where I'm trying to build, or you can at least, maybe promote my work a little bit, drop a story or something just to kind of help me get my work out there, whatever in my head. Again, I'm layering on as an expectation to the relationship. So say my best friend is not doing that, and here I am taking it personal, right? It's like I don't feel supported, or again, in my mind, it's like so minimal just to subscribe to a channel, right? It takes no effort at all. And it, obviously helps me and takes nothing away from them as someone in my life. It could be, potentially sort of a minimum expectation that they do something like that. But all of this, everything I've just said, and pretty much everything I've said so far in this video leading up to this moment, has been an expectation. It has been an expectation. Now, there is a difference, and there's a lot of nuance and discernment in what is an expectation and what is, say, like a deal breaker or a non-negotiable for you. So maybe you find that in your best friend relationships, if they're not someone who is able to support you or subscribe to your channel or do whatever it is, maybe on some level, spiritually, energetically, vibrationally, that's a deal breaker for you. And it's not bad. It is not bad. And there's nothing wrong about feeling that way. Like, bare minimum from my closest relationships, I need someone who can support me just by following me or just by subscribing to me or whatever it is, right? Like, to me, mentally, the mind will say that's bare minimum. And maybe for you in some capacity, because you know what you give, or how you support other people or whatever it is, the reciprocity that you demand is that. And there's really nothing wrong with that. However, I'm going to add a caveat to that because I feel like we add a lot of expectation, we add a lot of pressure to our relationships by having these kinds of expectations. Because you could have 1 million followers, and if you're mad because the one person you expect to follow you is not following you or is not subscribed to you or hasn't watched every single one of your videos, you're only like taking away from what you've built. You have 1 million follower platform and you're mad about one person who, if they had followed you or subscribed to you, you literally wouldn't even notice. And yes, absolutely. It is the context, right? It's the fact that they're in your life and they're not giving you the bare minimum support of what you would expect. But the thing is, we have to understand that so that's our version of reality, right? Mine being, this is my best friend. Why do they not subscribe to me? Why are they not following me? Like bare minimum, that's what I would think they would offer me. Well, we have no idea what their version of it is. We have no idea. And there's always something, right? And oftentimes what we're up against in experiences like this is their own subconscious. That's what makes it really tricky. And that's also why it's quite difficult to be in close relationship with people who don't do any inner work, because their subconscious is always kind of on display and we're always kind of up against it in some capacity, and they're not even realizing it. They're not even realizing that, that suddenly I'm up against their programming or whatever it is within them that causes them to not be able to support me in the way that I think they should support me. Oftentimes, and this is a key part of all of this, oftentimes if someone close to you is not able to support you, or you say you like blow up, or you have your moment, or you have your, you get to 1 million followers and they don't even acknowledge it, or they don't even clap for you. And you're like, what, you should at least be able to be happy for me. And they're like, not there at all. It literally has nothing to do with you. It has actually very, very little to do with you. It has very little to do with your relationship. It has, I would argue to say most, if not all, to do with them and where they are and their own relationship to their own greatness. And this is such a key to this conversation, because it is those who are closest to us that when we blow up and someone is right near us and they haven't blown up, or maybe they sort of even subconsciously feel like they're not stepping out into their greatness, or they're not using their voice, or whatever way that your greatness mirrors what they have not yet accomplished, or maybe are not going to accomplish, and they know that there is possible for them, but they know that their current trajectory is not leading them in that direction, then suddenly you're the mirror to what they're not doing for themselves. And that is a very, very important part of the conversation in all of this, because it says that it literally doesn't have anything to do with you. It's not like they're like, maybe they're a little even internally jealous, but they can't say that. And again, jealousy comes from one's own unmet potential. Maybe they're a little envious, a little jealous. Maybe they feel a certain way because it's like, they know that you're, they know you well enough to know that you're perfectly human, just as we all are. And so they want to start to go over in their mind, oh, how did she get to that level of success? And it's kind of low key being sort of a hater. And sometimes the people closest to us will do this, and it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. We are all human. And in close relationships, people will have seen your humanity in some capacity. And then sometimes it takes moments like this where they want to use, even in just at least in their head, your own humanity against you to help them feel better about why they are not where you are. And it's nuanced and it's complicated, and all of that happens under the surface, and you may never know that they've done that. They may never express to you like, well, you're not perfect either. I mean, if somebody says that and it's your best friend, like obviously that's a deep statement. But the fact of the matter is that's often happening within the minds and the hearts of the people around us as a way of deflecting the fact that they have not untapped their own potential. So I say this to let go of some of the expectation you have around the people who are around you and how they support you. Some people can only support you to a certain extent, and it is to their own extent in which they have met their own greatness, to the own extent where they know the level of potential they still have that maybe you have now materialized within your own life. And so there's a part of them that's like, God, I haven't done that. Like internally, if the conversation internally was being honest, it would say, man, they've reached a level I have not reached yet. And it can be, it takes a certain level of person to say, that's really dope, I'm inspired by that. And it takes another certain type of person that feels envious of that or jealous of that, and then has to go into their own spiral of why you're human too, why maybe you don't deserve it, or whatever it is that they have to convince themselves of to make themselves feel better, that they're not where you're at. And, it's taken me a long time to get here. It has taken me a long time to get here because I would check and balance, and I would, with my best friends or say my immediate family members, whomever it is, I'll be totally honest and say in this moment, I strongly doubt anyone in my immediate family has ever watched one of my videos. And, shout out to my stepsister and my nephew, because they are the two that I know of who have. Outside of that, literally no one. Granted, if my mother was still alive, she would have watched every single one. She'd be commenting and she'd be in the comment section of every video. So I'm going to give her those flowers and own that from her, because I know 100% she would have watched every one of my videos. But in no way am I surprised that no one else in my immediate family has ever mentioned a video or said in any way that they've watched it. I don't think any of them subscribe, and they don't take it personal at all. I genuinely do not take it personal at all, because also my sphere of influence and my sphere of consciousness is pretty unique. What I talk about is unique. I'm obviously kind of embedded pretty deeply spiritually, and a lot of what I talk about comes from that space. And a lot of my immediate family is not. And that, and I've mentioned before, sometimes that even in conversations I get laughed at because I talk about divine protection. I talk about the laws of the divine and, energy and all of these things that are very much real for me, that is not quite as real for them. And so in conversation, even, it's very obvious to me immediately in conversation with my immediate family, minus my mom, who again was very much on this way with me and brought me here, that they don't vibe with what I talk about. And it's fine to me, and I think that that's where it comes down to. So any of you who are listening who have felt that sort of rift of I'm doing all this, maybe you have a clothing brand, maybe you're a musician, maybe you're a YouTuber, maybe anything that you do that you expect the support of specific people from, I really invite you and encourage you down from those expectations, and to just again keep that true level of meeting people where they are. Because if you have expectations, you're only going to disappoint yourself. At the end of the day, especially when on some level, you also know that they're not going to be able to support you in the highest ways that you might love your sister or whomever to support you. And it's not personal at all. It is not personal to you at all. Literally, it's not. Whatever goes on in their inner reality around them, either subscribing to or watching your stuff or buying your clothes or listening to your music, whatever goes on in their inner world is their stuff. They can look at it like, damn, I'm kind of jealous of my whomever, bestie, sister, child, whatever it is. And as a result, they can't take themselves to the level where they can clap for you even. It's okay. It doesn't even mean they love you any less. It really doesn't. I think we have to understand that in relationships, in conscious relationships, how people respond to your greatness is their own mirror. Every single time. You would think, again, it's not that hard. You can just, share a video or whatever it is. In our mind, it seems so minimal, but the fact that they can't do that very minimal action, take that very small step to just say, I support you, I see you, I love you in your mind. That's how you would like it to be done, is their own stuff. It's whatever it is. And we can sit here and spin wheels around why we think that is. And I've given you now many reasons why. But there's so many more. There's so many more that I haven't even, called forward as potentially what's going on in their inner reality as to why they have convinced themselves it's okay that they've never watched one of your videos or never bought one of your t-shirts or don't support your music or whatever they have going on that doesn't feel supportive to what you have going on. And the truth is, the next level of this, in the saying that strangers will support you more, it is 100% true. 100% true, because the strangers are attracted to you because you're like-minded, because your energy inspires them in some way, because what you have going on is inspiring for them. It actually helps them see okay, she's done this, and so I know I can do it too, and there's a level of inspiration that often comes from strangers, so to speak, or people, your soul family, or people who are attracted to you energetically and vibrationally, because you call forward in them what they know is still possible for them. Maybe with your family members or your best friends or whomever you expect to support you in different ways than they do, maybe it's because they feel like they've met a ceiling and they're never going to get to the level you're at. They their whole life, maybe they wanted to launch a clothing brand, you've done it, and they're so in their way that they know sort of subconsciously they're never going to do it if they don't get out of their own way. And so then again, therefore you just sort of end up being the projection of that whole inner war, because they're not out of their way, because they're not willing and courageous enough to take the step of this could break or this could fail, and I'm willing to do it. And it's a big step to actually do it. It is a big step. I think it's the truth is that most people still don't actually do it, whatever it is, realizing your dreams or starting the channel or launching the line or putting music out, like whatever you do that they in their own way of is going to be you as their mirror of they're not doing it. And again, it's not even bad against them. It's not, we're all in our own way in some way. We all are, absolutely 100%. And yet we see that mirrored back to us in many different ways. And oftentimes it is from the people closest to us, by them achieving something that we're in our own way about, or by them taking the risk that we're not willing to take, or whatever it is that we're doing that they're not. And so suddenly to support you would almost be to abandon themselves, because they're themselves are the ones who are in the way of what you're doing that they know themselves they could do. So again, this is a deep, deep conversation. And again, I could talk about this forever because I've really found peace with the fact that the people who support me are here. I mean, y'all are in my comments, many of you pretty consistently and regularly, and I receive that so heavy and I appreciate it so heavy. And you're the only people I need that from. Like, I only need it from who I'm going to get it from, instead of setting all these expectations up as a trap for myself to feel disappointed by. Because it's just not there. It's fine. Like, it's completely fine. Even some of my closest friends truly have not subscribed to my channel, like maybe, I don't know, have ever watched. And it's like, it's all good. It's no love lost. I'm not going to like see them next time and like feel a certain way about it. And if I did, I would talk to them about it versus just like keeping that inside and then being an inner battle versus inner battle. And then there's this whole wedge between us that neither of us are talking about, it's not going to help a relationship ever. If I really felt a way about it, I might say something, but it wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be like defensive or like angry. I would wait till I was in a space to just say like, I feel like you could subscribe and I'm not asking for too much. And I'm just curious, like, why you haven't. I would probably open it like that if I felt like a conversation was necessary for me to stay in closeness with this person, or if it was going to keep me from like being able to love the person like I want to love them, or be in full transparency like I want to be in full transparency with them. Whatever it is, I would bring it up if I felt like I needed to. But most of the time at this point, I really don't. And I feel complete peace with the people who are here. The people who need my message are going to get it. The people who want to support me and can support me are going to do that. And it's not personal. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's not, I think it should be this, and this person. It's whomever's here. I'm just happy to give out my message. Like, half of what I do here is partly just for me to fulfill my mission. To say like, I gave all my gifts, God, like I've used everything you gave me. And I did as much as I possibly could in my highest expression, and with the risk of failure, to do everything that I did. So when my last day comes, I can look back and be like, I did that. I have nothing left. And I'm happy to say that I have nothing left. I used every possible thing. I filled myself back up. I'm spiritually wealthy because of what I offer to the world in my time here. And I cultivated myself to be the person who can help people in whatever way that is, and whomever the people are that I can help. And I have no expectation around who that is. So if you're someone who struggles with this, and I know many of us do in many different ways, because of course, whether you've like launched a clothing line or you've maybe just done something else in some capacity that you expect the support of your people from. On one hand, I do want to say like, it's okay. It's okay if you feel like, my whomever should support me, like X, Y, and Z family member in your immediate family, like they should support me. They should at least subscribe, right? It's okay to feel that way. But just make sure that you're not tricking yourself into disappointment by feeling that way. Because maybe all along you could kind of predict a relationship that they probably wouldn't be the one to subscribe. Because maybe all along in your life, you felt that little air of disappointment from them. If we're being honest, it's always kind of been there. And it's only because your expectation thought they should do something. And the reality is that they moved a different direction. And so your expectation has not met the reality of who they are or what the relationship is really giving. And so you've kept this undercurrent of disappointment in your relationship with them. And now this is just, a second coming of that. So maybe there is a conversation to be had, and there's nothing wrong with that. To say, you know what, as I've really sat with it, I don't feel like I'm getting support from you like I need. Like for you to be this close to me and someone that I give so much energy to and love so much, and to not get the support of even a subscription, I'm going to open that conversation now. Maybe there's a conversation to be had. That's completely fine. But don't walk around with resentment without having any conversation, without saying anything. It's just a wedge between you. Maybe you tell your other friends and you're pissed about it, but you've never even addressed it with them. How can they even know? How can they even sit with your experience of it if they've kind of created their own story in their mind why it's okay? And whatever else, and you're mad. And so now there's this wedge because you're not willing to talk about it. So yes, communicate. If it's something you need to communicate, by all means, communicate. However, really be aware of managing your own expectation in this capacity, because I feel so supported, albeit not by my, say, immediate family, sometimes even my close friends, that it's okay. Like I love them so much, and I don't have expectations over them. And I trust that they're meeting me where they are, and they're meeting the bond where it is. And so even if that means over time, I'm like, you know what, I don't feel very supported by this person. And maybe I'm supporting them too much. Maybe I'm constantly sharing their stuff or clapping for them or whatever it is. And so the off balance is that maybe I just need to even some of that out. Maybe I'm not the one meeting the bond where it is. Maybe there's some accountability on my end too. So I think all of this is really key in just looking at why you're mad about something, why you're not getting the support you think that you need, and whether it's a conversation or just a little bit of grace for them because they're where they're at and they're doing what they do. And maybe it's been, what you really literally could expect from them as a result of their behavior all the way up until now. So your expectations are simply failing you. Whatever it is, I invite you into the space where you can just look at it again. And also the fact that strangers support you more than your people is not a bad thing. If you're going to have 1 million people following you, you're not going to know all of them. That's for sure. Most of them, the vast majority of them, are going to be strangers. And yet it's the people that have been sent to you to say, I see you, I support you, thank you, you've saved my life. I mean, I get that comment right there pretty regularly, to the extent that I'm so humbled by all of you and so in love with all of you, my community and the people who really rock with me, that fills me enough. That it softens me needing to have any expectations from anyone else. Do I still have my little pings of bro, if I mention my channel to someone close to me or a family member, and it's very obvious they have never even looked at it, I still am human too, so I'll have my little pings and moments of it's very obvious you literally have never even looked at my channel, and then I'm but that's okay. It's fine. It's not personal. I'm going to set it down. If it were not okay, I would say something, because I'm not going to just carry that around and be mad at them and have that energy around me when I don't need to. But most of the time, I can just brush it off as it is what it is. It is what it is. If I'm mad about it because I feel like I'm giving more, then I should give a little bit less or meet a little bit differently. Or maybe it's a relationship that's vibrating out of my life, and this is the kind of final piece of saying, they really can't support me in the way I need from, say, a close friend, whatever it is. This is such a nuanced conversation that I could give 100 different examples of what's going on here. But I wanted to just soften all in all of our expectations around who should support you and how they should support you. If you can just let some of that go, it's really for you. It's really for you, because when you're mad at people all the time and mad at the world because nobody supports you, nobody sees you, you have this sort of, victim narrative happening. You're just doing your own self a disservice. Instead, to collapse that thinking, collapse that way, that storyline, and instead say, the people who support me are here. They come heavy and they come in droves. And it's true for me. And I own that. And I receive that so much from you all, sincerely. Anybody who's watching my videos, who's supporting me, who's in my comments, who's sending me messages, all of the love I get from you all fills me so, so much that it really helps me not have any expectations of anybody else, really genuinely. So I wanted to help you guys expand this, and some of you may totally disagree with this, and that's very much okay. I'm not here to try to tell you how to live your life, but if anything, I hope to help you dissolve some of the tension you have in your mind and in your expectations of other people, especially because it does you such a disservice to have high expectations for other people that are not going to be met, and then you're disappointed, and they're just good either way. They're still living along in their life in the way they would have done it anyways, and here you are mad and pissed about it, and outraged and talking shit or whatever, excuse me, that you're you feel a way about it and you've never expressed it, so they don't even know. And so all of this is happening in your world, and suddenly your world is chaotic because this person who you've never even expressed any of this to. So give a lot of grace to the people around you. They trust that they can and will support you in the ways that they can and will. And if it's at the end of the day, a relationship is not meeting your needs that you need from a relationship, express it, talk about it. And if it's still not, and vibrationally, it's just not a match, create some vibrational distance, create some space. Maybe it's just gently, genuinely kind of falling apart, falling away. And it's not even love lost. It's literally not personal. It's vibrational. It's spiritual to say, I need the people who are going to be around me, I need them to show up for me in a certain way. There's nothing wrong with having standards. That's a standard. And if that's how you feel and the people around you cannot do that, you have the permission. You can give yourself the permission to create the space you need to feel like you're not lifting everybody up who's then actually dragging you down. That's a really key thing to discern about who's around you and who you keep around you and what kind of love and energy you give to your relationships. So there's a lot of work to be done here, as always. But all in all, I just invite you into the space where you lessen your expectations. I have extremely high expectations of myself because I know what I'm capable of. And I know if I keep my expectations high for myself, I will meet them. But I'm really the only person I have expectations for anymore these days. And if I find myself having expectations for someone and them not meeting the expectations, I sit with it. Okay, does it mean that this person is really just not a match for me? Or are my expectations too high? Or what is it? Why am I creating this gap between my expectations and reality? How do I bridge the gap? And if I can't with this person, because maybe it's just that I need more than what they have, then I can let them go in love. And it's not personal. I don't have to be even mad at them. It's just, it's a closing. It's a closure. Not everybody can stick around for the ride. Not everybody can stick around for the ride. And that's really key in keeping going. Because if you're trying to put everybody in your backpack and carry everybody up with you, you're only going to do yourself a disservice. So you have to let that go. You have to trust that the people who can really ride with you will absolutely ride with you, whether you hold everybody on and cling to them, or you just let go and let them sit with you on the path. All right. That's what I got for you guys today. All that long-winded way of saying thank you sincerely for being here with me. Like, y'all fill my cup more than you know, sincerely. And you bring so much to my life, and just for you to support me in the ways that you do and all the comments that you give me. I'm still a very small channel, obviously, but even on my Twitter and on my other socials, like I feel the love significantly. And I wouldn't be where I'm at without all of you. I really genuinely mean that. So thank you sincerely for being on this path with me. I love y'all, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.